What's up, Western Oregon? College football is officially here. Week 0 in the books. What did you think about it?
I am so excited. No more talking about this realignment stuff. No more talking about transfer portal. Football is here, so we're here to talk about football. Week 0 was it was exciting. We had the Dublin game. Navy getting just absolutely demolished.
You're a Navy guy, aren't you?
My family's a Marine Corps family. We always root for Navy every year, and I almost texted my dad being like, I'm so sorry. This is a disrespect to veterans nationwide.
There was no military appreciation over there in Dublin at all.
No, 100%. Navy got absolutely squashed, beyond disappointed from their outing. Notre Dame looked great. Shout out to their
new
coach,
quarterback,
shout out to Sam Hartman.
Yeah, he looked scintillating out there.
And we got, USC opening it up against San Jose State at home. We'll touch on them a little bit later
we'll talk about that game in depth because Oregon State facing San Jose State,
Exactly.
But that was a very, very interesting one.
Yeah.
USC's got a lot of playmakers. We're going to talk about that in a little
100%.
bit, and they do not seem to have a lot of them on defense again. We'll see. Or is it the coaching? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what we're going to talk about right now is the Oregon Ducks opening up their 2023 season. No more Lanning press conferences where he's not talking about anything at fall camp. We are about to get to the real thing.
Yes.
Finally, there will be real football played at Autzen Stadium. We won't have to speculate on the depth charts, what the new offense is going to look like. We're actually going to see some Oregon football. So, Danny, my question to you is obviously it's Portland State. This wasn't even a good team in the FCS last year, so it's not like this game is going to be any sort of challenge. At least on paper, you never know any given Saturday, but this game's not going to be any sort of challenge. So how can we kind of, judge this game? Are there a few things that you're looking for from the Oregon Ducks on Saturday?
100%. I think the first thing is I think we're going to see this offense just come out of the gate swinging. I think I'm really excited for this wide receiver rotation. We got Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant, all new additions, and Troy Franklin, who I think is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I'm calling it here. But I'm really excited.
A lot of takes coming from him today, by the way.
I am really excited to see this offense, especially the wide receivers. I think we're going to see, depending on how this game goes, I think we're going to see all those receivers get a bunch of touches this game. Just let them have fun. I think this is going to be a big confidence booster going into Portland State and then going into Lubbock, Texas. So I think, like I said, Oregon's going to just be hot right out the gate. It's going to, even though they have a new OC, I think they're still going to have that really intense offense with Will Stein. So I am very excited. That's going to be one of the major things I'm going to be looking for, is especially looking at the
offense, just that explosiveness. I love it. I love it. And we should tease this ahead. He's got some big predictions coming up in the show. We're going to give our Pac-12 final standings and our college football playoff predictions. This guy's got some hotter takes, even more hot than that Troy Franklin round 1 prediction, which I like a lot. But I think you're exactly right. It's going to be fun to see this offense get going. But I think a fun thing about this game is, it's early in the season, but with the new redshirt rules, right, young guys can play 4 games and still keep it. So we're going to see a lot of different people in the mix. Maybe a Mekhi Williams getting on the field, maybe running down a kick. I don't know if he knows the offense yet, but that could be interesting. We're going to see multiple quarterbacks, I think. We'll see Ty Thompson, who really has never looked good, that great in a real game setting. Can he finally put something together on film?
Hopefully.
He's sighing.
Hopefully.
You want to have some confidence in the backup quarterback, so that's important.
100%.
The way when he came out of the Washington game and they were barely afraid, they were afraid to have him, give the ball up on a handoff practically. We want to see him, maybe some Austin Novosad. So a lot of different moving parts,
100%.
A lot of freshman players that I'm looking to see. And that's a big thing I'm looking forward to. How is Cole Martin going to look, the new defensive back? How is Tatum Tuioti, guy we've been hyping up at outside linebacker? How is he going to look out there? And then the debut of Mateo Uiagalelei. Are they going to be able to announce his name right on the PA system? And is he going to make some tackles, make an impact in his first game? So definitely going to be exciting to see those younger guys get integrated into the system, experience Autzen Stadium for the first time. Like we said, not the most compelling matchup, but definitely compelling for those reasons. Anything else you got on this?
I think Bo Nix is going to have one hell of a game. I think he's going to put on a Caleb Williams style just game where he's just going to be throwing it out there, making a Heisman candidate for himself. I think Bo Nix, with those receivers I mentioned before, is going to have a massive game. So, I'm excited for that. You want me to give you my final score prediction now? You want to hold on to it?
let's wait until we talk about Oregon State, San Jose State at the end, and then we'll flash them both up. So hold on to that for just a second. Trying to think if there's anything else with this matchup. Yeah, I want to see how the new offense looks.
Doubt they'll
give much away. Yeah, I want to see how many guys rotate in.
Yes.
To me, this game offers as an extension from all the competitions for spots that you've had at fall camp. To me, this is basically like another fall camp scrimmage. Yes.
Nah.
It's a scrimmage where you can continue evaluating. A little bit. Sorry to the Vikings. I know they have a good program over there. They're a proud program. They've had, is that what they say over there?
I made that up. That's Minnesota Vikings, but maybe Portland State does that too.
Look, I mean, it is cool because there's a lot of Oregon guys. Obviously, their team is mostly made up of Oregon guys.
Yes.
You know, the slept-on players in this state that didn't get the offers from an Oregon State. So, going to be huge for them. It's cool to have an in-state matchup. But I do think, you know, this is a game where the competitions that you've had in fall can carry over. Maybe someone's looked really good in a practice setting. They get out there in a game setting where they're a defender and Autzen Stadium's going nuts, shouts playing, and maybe the lights are too bright for them, you know? And maybe that kind of reevaluates some things in terms of competition. So there's a lot to keep an eye on with this game. It's obviously very exciting. The season's starting. It's one data point that we can kind of start to evaluate. It's a data point that they can't close off from the media, although I think at this point coaches may want that just to close off an entire game and play behind closed doors at this point with how much information they don't want everyone to see.
Very true.
But no choice. We're going to watch this one. We're going to have our takeaways. So very, very excited for that. Now, I'm very excited to make a little 8-hour drive down to San Jose.
Are you making that drive?
This weekend, yeah.
Nice.
I'm making the drive.
There you go.
Not flying. We're going to trek down the entire state of Oregon and get down to the Bay Area.
There you go.
So I don't know if I'm going to go. I might. Are you going to go to the Portland State game, you think?
Tickets were like $20. I think if I can get a couple of buddies, for sure. I mean, kickoff's at noon, so we'll see. I mean, I like to be there. Why not?
Catch a little bit of it.
Exactly.
Watch it at home. Get to the tailgates. Yeah, because you're off weekends now, which is huge for you. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to do. I might stop by the Portland State game for a little bit, but then I'm going to hit the road on Saturday, drive down to San Jose because San Jose State plays Oregon State at 12. And this is a very interesting matchup, especially just given what we saw between the Spartans and USC. So I don't know how we should talk about this. Maybe let's talk about that first, the USC San Jose State game. Very interesting. I mean, I thought in a lot of ways it looked like the same Trojans team from last year where they're extremely explosive on offense, the defense not quite there, and their quarterback, San Jose State's Chevin Cordero, was able to really make a lot of plays in that game, I felt
100%.
like.
I mean, there was that one drive that ended in a touchdown where they converted on 3rd and 22.
Oh, embarrassing.
Embarrassing for USC. And I mean, if you're going to be a playoff contender, you can't let those plays happen.
Yeah.
But like you said, offense was firing. It's a Lincoln Riley offense.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's in your face. It's very. But then you look at the defense, and it's, they're allergic to tackling. So I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird.
I might be overreacting, but I think, USC, their defense, is it an improvement from last year? Maybe. We still don't know.
Early in the season.
It's very early in the season, so I don't want to be like their defense is this, their defense is that. I think let's just see how I think they're going to get better as the season progresses, but not a good first showing, especially at home in front of all those fans. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, Zachariah Branch, the highlight.
Oh my gosh, he was incredible.
True freshman. I mean, I saw your retweet. He looked poised. He did not look like a true freshman.
On that kick return, it was nuts, him weaving through traffic like that.
Oh man, he was very, very exciting to see. And I mean, San Jose State, they're not a bad team. They finished, I think, 2nd or 3rd in the Mountain West last year.
Won the conference a few years ago.
Exactly. They're a great team. They have a good coach behind them, and they have a bunch of good players, especially on their wide receivers. So going to that, coming out of, USC, I mean, it wasn't what they wanted final score-wise, but I think when they play against Oregon State, I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
I think they're going to give them a challenge from what I saw. I mean, from what their quarterback was doing, Chevin Cordero, the scrambling ability should give the Beavers some problems. And that downfield passing that they were able to do, completing some big plays,
100%.
beating man coverage on the edge. Now, this is a new-look Beavers defensive backroom. They lose Rajon Wright. They lose Alex Austin. They lose Jaden Grant. A lot of new guys are going to be thrust into the fire on the road against the San Jose State team that did very well against USC. So I think we're in for a shootout. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Ultimately, I think the Beavers will be able to move the ball on San Jose State. So I see them pulling out. So now let's give our score predictions for this one. I've got Oregon State winning 35-31. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I'm going to be excited to be at it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the Beavers ultimately pull it out. I think DJU has like 400 yards, similar big type of game, like you said about Caleb Williams. And, yeah, I've got Oregon State winning, but I think it's going to be a hard one. You remember that Fresno State game last year where it took until the very final play for Jack Coletto to run it in and win it for the Beavers? I think we've got a similar type of game on our hands in San Jose.
You know what? My score is kind of similar to yours. I have 34-28 Oregon State. I think DJU has a monster game. We might even see Bengal Branson make a couple plays. You know, we never know with Jonathan Smith if he makes some switches, depending on how the game's going. So I have 34-28. I think the run game is just going to go through San Jose State. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think San Jose State's still going to look good. I don't think if they go 0-2, I don't think it's going to reflect their team. I think it's just, you know, a little rough start. But I think they'll finish the end of the year in the Mountain West one of the top dogs against, you know, Fresno State.
I think that's fair. They were impressive against the 100%. Trojans. You know, maybe we'll give Oregon State a fight. Maybe we're wrong about that, and we're underestimating the Beavers a little bit, but hard not to come away a little bit impressed by what San Jose State was able to do against USC. So let's do our Oregon score prediction now. I've got Oregon winning 63-10.
I got 52-14. I think it's just going to be a bloodbath. I think the receivers are going to be flying. I think the ball is just going to be going everywhere. I think, yeah, Oregon's just going to be, like I said, coming out of the gate swinging, looking really sharp, really good. I think there's going to be a big confidence game going into Texas Tech the week after.
Yeah.
So I am, you know, similar score, 63.
Cool.
Yeah, so I like it.
We'll see. We'll keep track of our records this year on our Oregon and Oregon State picks. Yeah, who's going to be the Zachariah Branch for Oregon? Who's going to be that freshman that pops, you know, and makes that big kick return, makes that big 80-yard catch? Who's going to be that guy that we haven't been talking about enough? Maybe it's Jurion Dickey, you know. Maybe it's the tight end, Kenyon Sadiq. Like, you never know what's going to happen. A lot of young players on this team, running back position, so I'm very excited to see who breaks out. Who's going to break out and win the entire Pac-12 this year? We've got our final conference standing predictions and our playoff pick after this quick timeout, so don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. We've already had one Pac-12 team suit up, put on the pads, and play a real game, but the rest of the league gets underway this week. Really exciting week. We've got Utah going up against Florida this Thursday. That's going to be a big one. The Utes out for revenge.
100%.
Very excited to watch that one. But let's go ahead and give our final standings for what we think the Pac-12 is going to look like, our long-awaited picks. So I'll go ahead and get it started. First of all, I've got Utah and USC tied at 11-1 overall, 8-1 in the conference. I've got Utah picking up a big win over Oregon State on the road, also beating Oregon at home, but I think ultimately they lose a trap game to Washington late. Utah, questions about the quarterback, but I'm just tired of doubting this team and picking against them, so that's why I've got them so high. I've got Utah, USC right there. I have them with one loss to Utah, just getting out-physicaled by them. What I saw in that San Jose State team was a team that's going to be even better on offense, though. They have Zachariah Branch. They have 10, 11 playmakers that can play just about anywhere in the country. I think USC has the most explosive group of playmakers in the entire nation. But still, can they tackle? That's going to be the question. Too many plays in that game where they're just flopping on the ground, the linebackers.
I don't know what that
What are those tackles? It's like, how do you not get better in the offseason trying to tackle Zachariah Branch, trying to tackle Marshawn Lloyd?
Yeah.
My dad back in the day, you know, when I was a third-string DN, called that a prayer tackle, where you just flop to the ground and wish for the best. Too much of USC doing that in week one, but the offense is going to be explosive. So I have USC at 11-1, mainly because I think they can hang in there in a firefight with just about anyone in the conference. They already were in it at the end of last year at 11-1 on Caleb Williams alone. I think they're in the mix this year. We've got Oregon at 10-2 for my number 3 pick. I've got them starting the season at 7-0. Ultimately, beating Washington on the road, but losing at Utah, a place that Oregon never can win. Like, I just have no confidence in them in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
What do you think there?
I feel like it's a little disrespectful, but it's all right. It's all right. I mean, we'll see what happens this year. I'll let you keep going, and then I'll let you get. I'll get into my
You can
picks,
react.
but
Feel free to jump in whenever. I've got them. So starting 7-0, I've got them ultimately losing to Utah and USC late. I think, like I said about you, look. Everyone on Twitter can crap all over USC's defense. They still went 11-1 last year on the offense alone, and I think they're going to be better. So yeah, they're just going to beat teams 63-50, whatever it takes. I think it's going to be that type of game. I think it's going to be an all-time classic in November at Autzen Stadium between USC and Oregon. But I think USC ultimately outlasts them and scores even more. I think about that UCLA-Oregon game where UCLA was still moving the football to the very end. So I'm not fully confident in Oregon's defense until I see it either, and I think those are Oregon's 2 losses. Oregon State, I also have at 10-2, 4th place in the conference, really tied with Oregon. I've got them losing to Utah and the Ducks, but they get big wins over UCLA and Washington. I've got Washington at 9-3, 6-3 in the conference. Washington I've got taking a little step back, but I do have them beating Utah late, handing the Utes their only loss. Then I've got UCLA at 8-4. My surprise team is Arizona at 7-5. I think they take a step forward. I like Titaroa McMillan. I like their receiver room. I like, Jaden DeLora can move the rock around. Program has a little momentum, so they're my surprise team at 7-5. I've got Wazoo at 6-6, and then this was hard to determine as I was going
Arizona
through and
State.
picking the games. That last 4 of Colorado, Arizona State, Cal, and Stanford.
yeah.
Really tough to just kind of predict there, but ultimately I have Colorado going 5-7. I think I said a while back on the show, I think that's the best case scenario for the Buffaloes is 5-7. I've got them beating Nebraska early but faltering later, and then I've got lowly Arizona State, Cal, and Stanford rounding out the rest of the Pac-12. Don't see much going on. ASU, I think ASU will probably show potential under Kenny Dillingham. With that new offense?
I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Kenny Dillingham, he's a young coach. He's excited. I think he's going to be ready to, just get after it. But I think they're not going to be as successful as people are going to hope to be. But I think they'll be fun. I mean, they'll be a fun team to watch.
I was debating having them higher than 3-9, but
3-9.
It's tough. It's tough to find the wins. It's tough to find the wins for them. But Jaden Rashada in at quarterback. I liked what Dillingham's system was last year. At Oregon, I thought it was dynamic. So I think Arizona State at 3-9 is maybe the one that I'll be the most wrong about. We'll see. And then I've got Cal and Stanford rounding out my picks. So what do you got? Let's hear it.
So I got Oregon. I got them going, number 1, 11-1. I just think they're going to be firing on all cylinders. I think this Will Stein offense is going to be very, very exciting. I do think most of their games are going to be pretty close. I think they're not going to have any easy games this year, maybe outside of whoever they play. I mean, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see them go out. I mean, they're going to have good games against, USC, Oregon State, Wazoo, I think, is going to be a really good game, just like last year. So I got Oregon going number 1.
Do you know who their one loss is? Who you got as their one loss?
I got USC.
Okay.
I got USC beating them
So we're in
regular
agreement.
season. I think Pac-12 championship is going to be Oregon versus USC, and I think Oregon
rematch.
gets the revenge.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
USC, I got going 10-2. I think they lose one to Utah again. I think Utah just owns the
I do
number.
too. I
and
do
I
too.
think they take that loss, and I think they lose to Oregon in that championship game. Utah, I think they're going to still stay consistent in the top 3. I think they just have a 9-3 season. Oregon State, I think they're also going to be very, good 9-3 season, finish with a 10-win season with the bowl game.
Right.
Washington, I don't have the highest hopes because they didn't play Utah or USC last year.
Good point.
And they
Good
finished,
point.
11-2, 11-1?
Yeah.
And I just think they're going to go 8-4 this year. I just think they're going to get, they're going to face these tougher
That's fair.
teams.
It's a big step up in schedule. It is.
100%. They have a much tougher schedule this year. Not saying that it's going to be, a terrible season for them, but I think they're going to, really see these really tough Pac-12 teams. And then from there, you got Wazoo going 7-5, Cal, we'll see 5-7, Arizona State. Same thing where that bottom tier with Arizona State.
Tough to pick those
Stanford.
games.
It's tough because, you see teams like Arizona State and Arizona, they always have a surprise win in there.
Yeah.
Stanford too. I mean,
Totally.
they're a great program. They've been for years. Obviously, they lose their coach, but I still think Stanford, I have them finishing last. I think they'll sneak a game in there. Maybe
that's the thing with the
UCLA or
Pac-12.
something.
They always,
Exactly.
Arizona State will beat a Washington. One of those will happen. The biggest upset I had was Arizona over UCLA, but even that is kind of close. Where's UCLA? I didn't see UCLA.
UCLA, I have them at 6. Finishing 6.
Okay.
So right under Washington. I think they're going to still be good with Chip Kelly. Yes, we'll
Yeah.
have Dante Moore as a new quarterback. But I think overall they won't be terrible.
So they named Ethan Garbers as their quarterback today.
Oh, interesting.
Which is like, it gives me less confidence. Like, it shows me that Dante Moore maybe isn't ready for the big time. Could be a situation like Trevor Lawrence at Clemson his first year where they knew he was the better guy but just wanted to kind of work him in with the veteran. But that gives me less confidence. I see UCLA taking a step back as well.
Okay.
Without DTR. Seems like we're kind of in agreement there. So, yeah, our Pac-12 standings there. You've got Oregon winning the league, and that will factor into your playoff prediction. So give me your playoff prediction here.
Playoff prediction, number 1, Michigan. I think Michigan is just going to stay dominant. They're going to crush Ohio State. I think if they do take one loss this season, I think it's going to be maybe against Penn State. Penn State is looking really good this year. I think Penn State's going to have a real resurgence. Number 2, I got Georgia. I think Georgia's still going to have an amazing year. I think they're going to, I think they're going to go undefeated and maybe lose in the SEC championship game to who my third pick is LSU.
Oh.
I think LSU surprises people again and takes the SEC West. I don't think Bama's going to have a quote-unquote down year, but I think when it comes down to it, I think that LSU is going to beat out Alabama.
I like it. You've been high on LSU for a while.
I'm high on LSU. I like Jaden Daniels. I like Brian Kelly. I like that team. They were a lot of fun to watch last year, and I was kind of just rooting for them as, like, not even an underdog, but just, they have a new team, it's a new culture, So I'm excited for LSU. And then Oregon for number 4. I think this is the year that Pac-12 breaks its drought of making the playoffs ever since Washington got crushed by Alabama. What was that, 2016, 2017? Yeah. So I think Oregon gets number 4 spot. So we might see a Georgia-Oregon rematch.
Ooh, I don't know if Oregon fans might want to. But they might have some PTSD from that one in Atlanta. For sure.
I for sure will. I'm going to be waking up in a cold sweat that week if that happens. But yeah, so Michigan, Georgia, LSU, Oregon. That's my final 4. I think it's going to be a very exciting year for the college football playoffs. I think, like I said, Georgia, they're just too dominant of a force to not even put them in the rankings. I forget. I saw analysts didn't even put Georgia in there, and I just
it's been happening.
You're just saying, probably for clickbait or something or trolling, but Georgia, they're too good. You're Georgia Bulldogs. Who do you got? I'm assuming Georgia's number 1.
I've got Georgia number 1. I think it's a cupcake walk through the regular season.
Yeah.
I think they go 12-0 through the regular season. But then, I'm kind of with you. I have them maybe losing in the SEC championship to Alabama.
There you go.
I've been critical of Alabama this year, and I think they lose a weird game, maybe to an Ole Miss, a Texas A&M on the road, maybe a Texas. But looking through their schedule, I still think it's very manageable.
Yes.
And I think this team is very motivated. They've heard all the hate all offseason long. Jalen Milroe, if he wins the starting job, I think he's got the most upside of that group. And I just think Alabama gets back. 2 years without a natty. I could see them back in it despite some of those concerns. So I've got Georgia 1, Alabama coming in at 3 somehow. Maybe that's flipped there. Penn State at 2. I think they're the team to break through the Big Ten.
Okay.
Not Michigan, not Ohio State. Michigan, all the distractions, Harbaugh trying to leave every second. And also, weird loss to TCU last year that didn't inspire a ton of confidence in me and J.J. McCarthy, this quarterback. I feel like we're supposed to act like he's suddenly elite. Like, I haven't seen eliteness. Like, I haven't seen him, air it out all over the field and be the guy that can win them a game. I think they're going to need that this year. I think Penn State, though, Drew Allar, a 5-star coming in. I feel like they've been building up to this year for a while. James Franklin's program has been knocking on that door for quite a while.
Yes.
They have a 2-headed monster at running back, Nick Singleton, running all over people. They're good on the line. They have, the best left tackle in the country. I like that kind of stuff. I've got Penn State maybe going 11-1, but winning the Big Ten and getting in there. Alabama backdooring their way in, maybe by beating Georgia in the SEC championship. Maybe they're undefeated. Georgia beats them. However it happens, I've got 2 SEC teams in there.
Yep.
And then I've got USC making it at 4th there. I think the Trojans, I've talked about them enough. I think they lose to Utah in the regular season, get out-physicaled. But unlike last year, I think in the rematch, the Trojans get it done over Utah in Las Vegas. And then I think Georgia absolutely destroys them in the first round. I think Georgia scores 75 against USC in the final game. But, yeah, again, with the Trojans, they won games in shootouts last year. They beat good teams last year purely on their offensive loan. That's not going to change. Caleb Williams is still there.
Yes.
Caleb Williams is still the best player in college football to me. In fact, dude, watching that game and watching him throw it 75 yards after dropping a snap with the flick of the wrist.
That play was everywhere.
I think in terms of arm talent on the planet right now, I think it's Mahomes, I think it's Herbert, I think it's Josh Allen, and I think Caleb Williams is in the conversation right now in college. And I think he is going to go to the NFL and be an all-time great on that level. I don't even think that's like that hot of a take, but I think he will go into the NFL and be in that upper tier, and we get to see him in college for one more year, which is so fun. And I think that alone with those playmakers, dude, I don't think anyone else in the Pac-12 is going to be able to keep up with that.
You don't think Bo Nix, Michael Penix, DJU, Cam Rising, Cam Ward?
They'll lose one of those games. But I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I think the bottom line is that people writing off USC on Twitter already from that San Jose State game are ignoring that they could also probably drop 45 on their team as well. They're all ignoring that.
That is very true.
So, yeah, that's what we got. Those are our playoff predictions. Very excited for this season. Like I said, might stop by that Portland State game. But going to go to San Jose State for Oregon State, which I think is just going to be a barn burner. Could come down to the end.
I'm excited for that one.
Very excited for that one. Football is back.
Football is back, man. I'm just excited. I mean, like I said, on Saturday I sat there. I watched the Navy game and Notre Dame game, and then I watched USC at San Jose State. And then I caught a little bit of that UMass New Mexico State game. Go UMass Minutemen.
This guy's dedicated.
I don't know what it is. Just UMass. There's something about them I like.
The Minutemen.
The Minutemen, maybe. But yeah, I'm excited too. College football is back. Hearing all the analysts coming back to it, and we're getting hyped for the playoffs. And then this is going to be the last year for the Pac-12. Last year for the 4-team playoff, we're going to get the 8 or 12 team next year. I'm very excited for college football. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting season. Cool. Heisman candidates. I'm just,
cool. Yeah.
Fired up.
Very pumped. So after the break, we're going to close the show with a new segment, our Friday Night Rivals interview of the week. We're going to talk with someone from Churchill. Now, this is a new thing we're having because on our programming, KVAL KMTR, we are starting a new show called Friday Night Rivals. This is unmatched. This is 25 minutes of pure high school coverage.
Yes.
You can't get that anywhere else in the area. We've ramped up from 15 minutes to 25. We're going to have more games. We're going to have more coverage. We're going to have some college in there. We're going to have more interviews with coaches. This is truly unparalleled coverage when it comes to our area, something that we are putting in a lot of work into right now. So go ahead and enjoy our Friday Night Rivals interview of the week, and then we'll get out of here. Here's our sports anchor, Ronald Clark, talking with the new head coach of the Churchill Lancers, Layne Coffin, who spent 17 seasons as a coach in Idaho, amassing 90 wins over that span.
So just to start off, when you left Idaho, did you know that you would come to Oregon and go back into coaching?
No, I did not. I mean, I thought there might be a chance, but I wasn't my intent right off the bat, so just happened.
What was sort of that process like for you, thinking that you were done coaching and then getting here and finding an opportunity?
Oh, it was trying to get to know the place and just kind of get comfortable in the area. I thought would be good, and I've kind of been coach all my life, and so it's met some fellas at a couple of clinics that were from around here, and it's just another way to connect with people and try and get involved in the community.
So what has it been like so far? Obviously, you mentioned it's been 3 weeks. How would you sort of approach this? How quickly you've had to turn this sort of program around to get ready for a season?
Well, I'm in knee deep. It's been fun. The kids have been trying hard, and that's what matters. And everything involved, I'm pretty happy with the way things have went. So no complaints.
After being so many, basically consistent years in one program, and then switching up to where you're sort of thrown in the fire right before the season, how has that transition sort of been for you just to handle that?
So far, it's been awesome. I've loved it. I've loved the new energy. I've kind of felt, getting back into it a little bit. Sometimes when you play so long, you might get a little stagnant, and it was time for me to, try something new.
What's sort of your fill-out strategy for coming into a new team like this, where they haven't had as much success as you've had in previous programs, but getting that feel of the players and their playing style so quickly?
You know, it's kind of just based on time and relationships and having a certain kind of thing that you want to do and how you want to play, and then kind of, I hate to say the word demanding, but you have to really encourage them to make this is the way we're going to do it. It's not really a change, it's just the way we're going to do it. And, you know, that always takes a little time.
So in a year like this, do you sort of set goals for the team, or is it kind of, you know, taking it one game at a time and not really approaching it with the mindset of we're going to make playoffs or anything like that?
You know, I think it's important that you have expectations for your weekly games, and where we end up is where we end up. But we're going to try and prepare the right way and do things the way, you know, I've kind of felt was necessary to be successful. And then, you know, kind of whatever happens is we're going to just roll with it and keep going.
It feels like a bit of a clean slate for Churchill, but obviously you've returned some of the assistants that were here at the previous regime. How important was it to, you know, have some guys who had a relationship with the players beforehand and bringing some continuity back to the team?
Well, I think it was really important. Ramon has done a fantastic job. He's, you know, he's coached for a long time, and having Ramon has just taken a big burden off of me, which, you know, he knew the players, and that's been a big help for me. And so, yeah, it was really important.
All right, that was Layne Coffin, the new man in charge at Churchill. The Lancers will take on Marist Catholic in a big Week 1 matchup this Friday. Once again, we've got the premiere of Friday Night Rivals this week. You can watch it at 11 p.m. on NBC 16 or KVAL. Unparalleled high school football coverage all season long. See you next week.